like the experience, like with the empiricism or some shit.
Well, it seems to be a view that describes parallelism and interactionism.
I mean, if you want to look at it in that sense, then
Because
sure.
like interactionism that's just saying that like they are separate, but they're seen as like capable of causally affecting each other. And parallelism is just saying that these mental and physical events do occur in parallel, maybe not interacting in such a sense, but that they do occur in that causal connection sense.
Yeah,
Archie,
then I
what are
would
your
be
views
like
on
in that sense.
behavioralism?
Well, I just like which sense though? Like interactionism or parallelism?
Not behavioralism. Like
Oh, that's
in
so hard to
context to
understand. Jesus, that's
psychophenomenology.
Shut the fuck
bro,
up.
Rizhan, they're running it. You can't do that. Yeah. I'm
No,
not
you
gonna
can't
lie.
interject. He was just about to say something retarded. I heard him. No one's referring to behavioralism. You know that. You're going to try to nitpick my statement about parallelism. Don't be pedantic unless you want to debate too.
I mean, if Rizan wants to take this, then I wouldn't mind, but I don't think that you would want to debate
you
Rizan.
got it. No,
Exactly,
you got it,
don't
Tori.
mind, bro.
Nah,
I don't mind either
Rizhan
or,
got
but
it.
I'm definitely more interested in debating you than
Was
Rasan, because
definitely
Rasan's
looking to
retard.
run it, so I think
Exactly. So for you,
Rizhan
I
versus
debate
him
on,
would
bro.
be a
For you.
way
I
Okay,
better.
was
I would then
genuinely
take it. I will
asking.
take it.
I was genuinely asking his views on behaviorism.
We
I was
don't
genuinely
care. Shut
asking.
up. We don't care.
No,
Rizan,
you weren't, nigger.
Yes, I was. I
Oh,
actually
free
genuinely want
breakfast.
to hear your views.
You're just
Like,
a ratty nigger, bro.
I'm not going to debate Greeny.
Anyways.
I'm not going to debate
Fuck you,
Greeny.
Rizan.
I
Anyways,
literally just want to hear
I
your
fucking
views.
hate Asian people.
I'm not Asian. I'm Nigerian. My family's Nigerian. I'm born in
That's
the
worse.
UK.
You should have just gone with the Asian, bro.
No, I'm Nigerian.
Them
Red
blacks,
Nigerians are literally like the
I
best
hate
race.
those blacks.
Bro, what did okay, can you name me one Nigerian introvert or let's say like entrepreneur that did something big in the world?
Dangote.
What's one Nigerian
Because
feat,
there is
Rizan?
none.
Yeah, Dangote. Search up Dangote right now.
What the fuck is
Dangote.
Donglety? What the fuck is
It sounded
that?
like you said Bangladesh, nigga. Are you referring to Tanwin's main homeland?
No, Dangote.
He trying to claim that he created
I don't know what to
Colin,
say.
bro.
Who
What?
kicked me out of the server? What the fuck?
No one.
Wait, let me check. Wrong account. Hold up.
It was Shikio. Ban him. Ban him.
Bro, breakdance.
No,
Yo,
don't ban my
yeah,
boy.
I'm not gonna lie. Rizhan versus
It was Shiki. No.
Archie is gonna be
It
a
was
really
not
good
me.
conversation. Don't worry about the audit logs, man.
I just made amends with Shikio. Shiki, if you just kicked me, bro, I'll kill you, bro.
Damn.
Dude, it was,
Shikio, he's saying he would tie a proposition around your neck and toss you off the Empire State Building, bro. Like,
it's
crazy.
official who banned you, bro. I
Oh,
don't know how
wow.
official has banned purpose, but yes.
Yeah, I was
Who
just
was
about
it?
to say official.
Official banned you, bro.
Why does
Official.
official have friends in
Yeah,
the server? What in the green?
Official, why did
Little
you
guy
kick me,
from
bro?
Eric?
It's
What?
super rude, man.
Why did
I did
Why
not
did you
do
kick
that.
me?
I did not do that.
Official
I
with
invited
firms
you
in
back.
2024, bro. Come on, dog.
I mean, I fuck with official heavy. I don't know why he would kick me.
Well, you just got
Hey, I'm
He's
like,
an
I'm pretty
egomaniac,
Not
happy.
even
bro.
picked, bro. You got banned, bro. You got banned, cuz. You got banned with
your
shit.
ass. He banned your ass.
He banned.
I was that
Ban
devious.
Shikio next. Ban Shikio next.
Wait,
So are you gonna get the
actually,
debate?
hold on. I feel like you're more of an emergent duelist. And Shikio, let me know if this isn't
need a
describing
property
exactly
duelist.
what he believes. But Free, do you believe that
You know you
like
can
these
just call it
mental
property dualism.
factors? Rizhan, do you want to get bitched again?
That nigga said property.
Yo, Rizhan, fuck you, buddy.
No, anyways. So do you believe
what's
that
up?
essentially like mental substances and properties emerge from physical systems? Like the brain and stuff, but
wait,
that they're still distinct?
You cut off from me. So mental state and what else?
No, like mental substances and properties. Do you believe that these things emerge from physical systems, but that they're still distinct from from like these physical systems?
The premise trap of doom.
I think you can. I don't know if it's like in a physical way, but maybe I can grant that. Maybe I
Because
can.
I'm an emergent duelist.
I mean, maybe I can grant that. Yeah, I can maybe grant that. Yeah, sure. Sure. I will grant that.
Well, that's about your idea because I want to debate you on it, but I want to fully understand your view because you didn't really have a concrete answer on the interactionism and the parallelism thing.
Oh no, I got kicked. If I said something, then my bad. But I got kicked, so I didn't give that. I mean, I'm kind of like both. I don't know if I can say I'm both at the same time, but like whatever fits like the description I gave, I will be that. Like whatever is the description,
Yeah,
like when it
the
comes
only
to
reason it
substance
wouldn't be
dualism.
both is because in parallelism, they don't technically interact, but they just occur in parallel and in coordination to each other.
Yeah.
Interactionism, they're like directly interacting, like directly causally affecting each other.
Yeah. I mean, whatever property, whatever like, I don't know if it's like a physical correlation, but whatever like relation is gonna be like
Parallelism.
between those two, I would agree.
How does
I
it
would agree because
explain?
if I just think that like consciousness as a whole, under my like view of a substance dualist, do think that it's immaterial, but I don't think it can like work without experience. And I think the same for like experience. Like I don't think it can like exist without consciousness. So whatever fits like that biconditional relationship,
Mhm.
I'm kind of like whatever it is. If it's a
I don't know
physical
about
one,
that one.
It's just a
it's
bit
fair.
confusing to confirm like a view on that because that commitment is something that can fit along the lines of different kinds of substance dualism, but upon those different kinds of substance
Yeah, I think
dualism, they seem to
he
hold
just
different
needs to read up
commitments.
on it more. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think you're gonna get the answer. So Rizhan versus Archie.
I mean, to be fair
There
with
are
you,
other topics.
I mean,
Do you do any methods?
I do metaethics. I'm a more realist, non-naturalist. That's actually
Okay,
my best
perfect.
topic.
I'm an
Let's
uncom.
see him defend that.
We
Oh,
could
you're a non-cog. Okay.
yeah.
So like you're saying that they're not propositions. Like you don't think that they're like truth apt and right?
Yeah, essentially, I just believe
Mm-hmm.
that in
Okay.
such a sense that these claims do not perpetuate facts in the light which they're true or false.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I have like three proposals. So number one, do you like want to provide the argument? Number two, I can provide the argument for non-naturalism, and three, I can provide the argument against non-cog. Which one would you be confident in doing?
You could write an argument if you'd like, but I don't know.
Okay, that's
Use
fine.
my argument. Use my argument.
He wants
I
to
mean,
win, not lose.
if I just wanted you, Rizan, if I just wanted you to debate Archie, then you can use your argument. But like, if it's me, then I'm gonna use my shit. Okay, so this is gonna be like some argument for more realism that I can provide. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Let me just find my shit.
Damn. I feel bad.
Desktop, downloads, document. Where I can find my shit. Wait. No, I can't find my shit. Wait. Give me a sec. Oh, okay.
I got money on
Okay.
the touch, but I'm on the way to touchdown.
Speak your mind, oh baby. Tell me what you like. You said I drive you crazy, just like the other guy.
Daniel, this dude had chat GPT look up.
No, because I can't send the image.
Let me look up this shit.
It's Dangote. It's pronounced Dangote.
Wait.
Industrialist and business. Let's see.
Hey, bro, Elon Musk from Nigeria, bro. You get it?
Nah.
Also, Elon Musk is literally South African. Like, we Africans literally the
Yeah. I don't know.
I said Nigeria.
That can't be true.
South
same
African
thing,
North
nigga.
African. That's because they're necessary.
Yeah, Nigerians
Bro,
literally rich. I come from a rich Nigerian family.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Why did you
Bro,
just lie
you
like
live in a
Yes,
that?
they are.
village, my nigga. You have
But
chickens in the background.
do you want to take a look at their currency? How
Yeah, so Nigeria has the biggest GDP
bro,
in
Rizwan's
Africa.
gonna get his chicken stolen like drip sauce, bro. He's chopped. Bro, Rizwan, bro, come on, dog. I thought you were like British or
Yeah.
something.
Wait, but just like real quick, Archie, do you believe like that non-cog believes that more statements, however you make them, they don't have to be like truth, but do you think that any like moral statement in that sense should like motivate others as like a non-cog? Are you like some sort of perspectivist or like a emotivist?
say
Oh,
more
fuck.
so like
Y'all, I'm kind of
I
bored.
definitely
Yo,
take
free.
the
Can I
idea of
jump
like
in?
anyway,
Can I
I
jump
definitely
in
take the
and we
idea of
shift
like
it
a
to like
motivism in the
abortion or
sense
something?
where I feel like these utterances
Oh my god.
they more of communicate attitudes. I think that sentence is
Archie,
playing general predicate
Archie, start packing.
these like
Archie,
these
start packing.
happy values such as like right,
Start
wrong,
packing.
virtuous, and so
Homo
on.
bitch.
Um, it really just is like a signal
Uh-huh.
to a non-cog's attitude,
Free.
such as like
Okay.
approval and preference.
Start packing.
And
Right.
in
Get
the opposite way,
rhetorical.
like for a negative evaluation, that wrong, bad, and vicious,
Get
or
rhetorical.
like
Call him
these
a retard.
what seem to be like
Yo, I
negative
can't hear
words,
you. I'm sorry, I
just
can't hear
communicate
you
negative attitudes.
from... Yeah, I'm sorry, I barely heard you because, like, official was talking over you. But basically, you kind of do agree that those utterances and, like, those type of statements do, like, kind of connect, like, some form of opinions and things throughout, like, emotion or something, right?
So I believe they're just ways of indicating our preferences and dissatisfactions. Similar to saying,
Uh-huh.
I don't like this.
Yeah. So, like, for example, but do they think, like, they motivate others? Like, do you think that they... Like, if I told you boo abortion or some shit like that, and I gave you some form of justification why you shouldn't abort or some shit, or like boo murder, and I gave you a justification for that, do you think that's supposed to motivate you to like
I
not do
think the
the sad thing?
justification is something that's completely isolated and unique of the actual statement that communicates that preference. So I think it would be more of the justification rather than the communication of that statement that would serve as a motivation. So I think there's a lot more
Understood.
nuance and context to it than simply saying that this
Hmm.
grammatical assertive or negative utterance is the one that motivates us.
I mean, can you maybe further elaborate on what would be like the justification for you when it comes to like in a statement for like a moral statement? Like what would be like
Hmm?
justification for your view, for example?
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, there's a lot of different ways we can go about this. I mean, first we can introduce the moral disagreement pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
First I'll
Fair.
clarify by saying obviously disagreement is to be found essentially in any area. Even if there are no like necessary doubts or issues that the claims at stake purport to report facts, and everyone just simply accepts them to be true, and it's a consensus that they're true. But obviously disagreements vary and differ, and people believe
Mm-hmm.
that certain sorts of disagreements to be found in morality, are
Right.
simply best explained by supposing simply one of two things, right? That
Yeah.
moral claims
Okay.
are not actually in the business of to report facts, but rather are a way of expressing emotion or controlling others' behaviors, or at least taking a stand for or against certain things, or that moral claims are
Okay.
in the business of reporting to report facts, but the required facts are just not to be found. And obviously, I'd be taking the initializing idea since I'm not an anti-realist. So,
Okay. Okay. So I do appreciate that you're like kind of engaging with the view. I just feel like maybe like I still kind of when it comes to disagreement, I understood that part. I just maybe like
mhm,
you could explain maybe further when it comes
of
to the
course. So,
justification part.
of course. So we
If you want to start with that, that's fine. We can start with that.
Of course. So first, we understand that and you would agree that people obviously disagree in the idea of these statements, right? Well, it would seem to. Oh, sorry.
In some cases, yeah, of course.
I think in all cases, there's at least one person statistically who will disagree or agree with such.
Oh yeah, statistically, yeah. But like one, if there's gonna be like, but depends on how you would take it. If you just take like, of course, there's gonna be one person, but that's gonna be for everything, not just like
I
for
agree.
like a moral statement, right? Like,
Yeah, and
how would you? Then
that
would
was the
you
point of my
maybe
initial
say?
statement.
But yeah, but wouldn't you then say like but I don't think like you should count it by like in a sense if there's like one person that will disagree. I think like if it's like gonna be, for example, something is universally condemned, right? Something is like universally condemned to be wrong. For example, um killing. We universally say, right? Well, this is wrong, correct? But
No,
I mean I will have to like show them a statistic for that. But
you
yeah,
can, but
that's
well,
fair.
first off, it's important to understand what do you think universally means? Because within
I
the idea of
universally like
metaethics, universal means that it's everywhere, which is not the case
oh
in this
like
instance.
in a sense like I wouldn't say like every culture because there's like cannibalism and shit, but like I would say that sense, we generally, how we describe, we generally like a vast majority would say that killing is like wrong in a sense.
In a sense, sure, but that sense can differ and it's very nuanced and still is room for moral disagreement. Because there are some people that accept killing under certain instances of self defense. Some people accept killing in the instances of the army and war. Some people accept killing, maybe if they're just like
Oh yeah.
consequentialists. They think that the result of this killing will bring, better good. In such a way, they may accept that. And some people may differ from that. Some people may just completely not agree with killing at all in such a sense. So I agree with you in the idea that it does differ in such a sense, but that only adds more fuel to what I'm saying with the idea of the existence of disagreement in such an area. The differing idea from disagreeing in any other area, because as I mentioned previously, disagreement is to be found in virtually any area, even where no one doubts that the claims at stake purport to report facts, right? The only difference is in such an area like this is not an area, and even though this is what's in question, and I'm willing to see this, there is no real way that we can actually measure whether these areas purport to report facts in the same way that we can in an area to where it essentially is just a completely consensus that it's correct, such as an area in science, such as an area in like human biology and discovery, right? These things differ. So it's a bit more hard to come to like concrete confirmed conclusions on this. And I think the existence of that aids more way to being more parsimonious to accept that these things are more of just utterances of our, disagreements or utterances of our preferences rather than an actual utterance of some type of objective truth to be found, because there would be way more conditions that would need to be accepted upon that.
Okay. Fair. I think that's completely fair. I just like maybe I will go with like a few things there, but number one, in a sense that I'm talking about, for example, of course there's gonna be some culture or some form of like a person that will like have a different will have like a disagreement when it comes to killing being wrong, or like when it comes to those things like rape and those stuff being wrong. I will completely, to a sense, agree that there are gonna be people that will disagree with that, but there's like one major issue. If we just say that that's gonna be there for everything, like because there's still people that even think that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. There are people who don't think that like a moon exists and some shit. There are those people, unfortunately, and there are some people that think like Earth is flat and everything. But when you say those things, if we measure it by that, then like whole point of like some form of convergence to a fact and like points of facts in general, like a descriptive synthetic fact, you wouldn't be able to like in a sense, I don't know, justify it to be a fact. You wouldn't be able to measure it. Like there wouldn't be like any synthetic identity relation when it comes to any type of truth. Like you wouldn't be able to measure that. So like if you wanna, we can engage in that. I think that it will take too long, but if you're fine with that, we can definitely do that. Okay.
I don't think it will at all. In fact, I think both the examples you gave are examples that we can measure. I mean, we understand that under Peano's axiom, I mean, the number 2 is just defined as the successor as 1. So that of it in itself would suggest it. But if you want like actual additive proof, I mean, there are like formulations that prove this. The entire idea of 2 + 2 = 4 being a necessary truth, obviously it has been challenged, in philosophical and literary context. But at the same time, we do have a basis and a foundation of evidence. I mean, the idea of the recursive definition of addition proves such a thing to be true because we measure these things based off of the reality of our world, right? Instead of just saying that this is something that communicates a preference of ours, regardless of whether we can communicate such a preference, we can measure the world in distance to each other and use these numbers and stuff like that to accurately describe our world. Right, in such a sense, math isn't something that is being used to prescribe things about the world, but more so describe the way our reality works. Similar to our observations of the moon. This is something that we can empirically observe within the real world and something that's directly tied within the real world. And even though my position claims that these moral claims aren't tied to the real world, I still want to let you know that I acknowledge it's still in question. So I'm not using this to beg the question, but I am using this to say that there's going to be a distinction between the examples you use and the idea of moral disagreement in such a sense, because the idea of moral disagreement, even though disagreement is found virtually in any area, even to where there's a consensus that's true, which is what I've been saying this entire time, the difference between those areas and this area of morality is that in this sense, moral disagreement within the areas of moral realism, it implies multiple things, such as the idea of our preferences and the idea, since there's such a huge nuance found within culture, such a huge nuance found within, nationality, such a huge nuance even found within race, these differing things that don't seem to be, at least based off of intuition, they don't seem to be something that's universally applicable everywhere. They don't seem to have something that has a general scholarly consensus.
Yeah.
It wouldn't seem to be something that's very comparable to things that are,
Yeah.
I guess, synthetically to be true. Not to say that these moral claims have already been proven to not be synthetically true, but from where we're looking at.
Okay, so I will ask one question later when we kind of end on this point, and then we can get to the argument. But to like end the point, okay, so I don't necessarily, of course, like there's gonna be like some form of definite justification that can definitely prove this being true, or like that there's like it's definitely like in a sense be like more probable, if we can say it like that. And like that's something that you think moral statements are lacking. And from the way the world is, you can actually tell like that people actually get the motivational property via the set desire or emotion when it comes to like moral statements. But I think there's gonna be like one that's like a very good point, because it's kind of hard to justify those like stance independent reasons, how they call them, for moral statements. But like I think how I can maybe describe it to like put that justification there is like in a sense you can like get it as, if you believe in a sense, which you do believe, you kind of do believe that there's in a sense going to be a way that these statements motivate us, right? You would agree. What did you want to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that isn't something, at least I full-fledged take to believe, at least if I'm just taking your statement completely face value.
Wait, I barely heard you. Can you just repeat what you said there? Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't entirely, at least if I'm just taking that statement face value, that moral statements motivate us, I don't quite believe that these things serve as motivations, right? I think there's something that's tied a lot more. I think there's something tied a lot more than just these moral statements that motivate us.
Oh, that's gonna be a big disagreement. But yeah, if you kind of like in a sense say that, the way I would maybe justify moral statements like giving that motivational property would be that, given the way the world is, sense, there are some hypothetical norms that could be made for the set moral statement. Like for example, if I just told you you ought not to kill, you should not kill, and that's the only thing that I tell you, like no reason, no anything, there'll be something called categorical norm, and you wouldn't be justified at all. I agree. Like you won't be motivated at all. Like who's this dude to tell me that? But if I told you something like, for example, if you don't want to go to jail, you should not kill, right? That's going to be something that will give you a motivation in a sense, right? You can derive that motivation from given the way the world is and make that like form of hypothetical norm. And that's something that will like maybe give a distinction between other beliefs and like moral beliefs. Because not just like I'm named as an example, of course, like when it comes to jail and shit, but you kind of get the point. Like, given the way the world is, you can kind of derive that set justification that will give you the motivational property, right? And I just think that, like, when it comes to that, you can definitely kind of see from that point, like, a motivational property. But if you deny it still, we can also get into it further. But that's completely fine. I think you brought up good points.
Yeah, I don't think that really disagrees or is a commitment that I have to disagree upon, at least in the sense of those areas motivating us. Because what I initially held to is that just these moral statements of it in itself don't motivate us, but that there's always going to be some kind of nuance or some type of external factor that isn't necessarily unique of such a statement that could motivate us, right? In your instance, if you don't want to murder, don't go to jail. Or if you don't want to go to jail, we ought not to murder. that statement, yes, may motivate some people depending on their priorities not to go to jail, but this seems to communicate or express more of their dissatisfaction with going to jail rather than their dissatisfaction with murder,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Similar to the
Yeah.
sense to where, let's say, if someone were to say, yeah, thanks for whoever muted them. Similar to if someone were to say, oh, well, if you don't want to get your shoes dirty, don't step on mud, right? If you don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
this, don't do that. These preferences and whatnot and what we ought not to do, something that's isn't just unique of these moral statements, seem to be our motivations and our priorities. And depending on what your priority is and what your motivation is, it's going to differ. So that's why I'm saying I feel like these things, it's a lot more parsimonious to just accept them as being, what's the word, preferences. Because if we were to go through the loophole of saying, oh, well, he's doing this not only because he doesn't want to go to jail, but also because he thinks murder is very, very wrong and that murder should be, explained or answered to by going to jail. Right, that'd be almost an instance of him agreeing to such a moral claim, but that would require a lot more explanatory power than it would to say, oh, well, he just doesn't want to go to jail, so now he's not going to murder. Right? This isn't necessarily something that has to be just a commitment that's unique of someone who values this moral instance, and this isn't just a commitment that's unique of someone that's motivated by this moral statement, because there's something external from the moral statement that seems to be motivating them as well.
Mm-hmm. That's good counterfactual, by the way, but I just think that maybe in a sense you're kind of correct about that. I know you never disagree with that, and maybe I could have brought up a different example, but the whole idea that I was trying to give is that you can derive some form of reason. This one, for example, that you ought not to kill if you don't want to go to jail. That was the one that was fitting, like I don't know, like some form of desire of a being, right? So like in that sense, yeah, I kind of like a different example then, but like the whole point was just that if you do believe in what I'm talking about, like that you can derive these things, the motivational property, even in your view, is just gonna be like some form of um the moral statement that you're trying to make is going to give that motivational property. That's like the only thing that I was like kind of getting at. I also think that you like would agree with it if you like value those desires as like a motivist or whatever type of non-cog you are. I think you would agree that some form of desire is going to be something that gives that motivational property. I just think me and you kind of like fundamentally disagree on what those motivational properties are going to be, but I think that you agree to an extent, at least, that there's going to be a giver of motivational property when it comes to these hypothetical norms about moral statements, right?
Hey,
So,
before y'all continue, I apologize for interrupting this, but which one is Rizhan's out real quick?
It literally says Rizhan second. It literally says Rizhan the second. You don't see it in chat.
I don't see it. I bet. Let me just.
It says OG Rizhan. He said, "Yo."
Oh, there's two. Oh, I bet.
Yo.
My bad.
All right, you're good.
nah, bro.
All
Chill
right.
on Rizan, bro.
Here, just to respond to it, said, this isn't like the idea of motivation being from these statements, at least the full statements that you had mentioned or used as an example. This isn't something that's, an emotivist is necessarily going to disagree with, right? This is a commitment that an emotivist can hold to without necessarily breaking their claim, because it's important to understand that, an emotivist, we're just saying that, sentences employing general predicates of positive moral evaluation, such as right, good, or virtuous, that's just our, us expressing a pro attitude for, for approval or a preference.
Yeah.
Similar to if you were to say something's bad, wrong, not good. That's just a signal.
Right.
That's just signaling negative non-cog attitudes, right?
Right.
But the idea is something that would have to be unique of these moral statements would be this motivational aspect, or at least in such a sense that motivation from the event of saying this statement, motivation is going to be granted, at least depending on someone's prioritization or priorities. That of it in itself, I feel like already suggests why I would be more parsimonious to just accept the fact that these people are going directive rather than, what they actually believe to be morally wrong or right, because there's going to be a consequence or there's going to be something external from the moral action that affects them. So it would seem that their main focus seems to be preserving their own personal desires and their own personal benefits, rather than preserving some form of moral rightness or virtue. And I think one of the commitments, the only commitment that would be accepting of what you've been presenting, that a non-cog wouldn't have to accept and would have to defend, is if these statements are uniquely expressing this motivation, or there's something unique about these statements, these moral statements of it in itself, just the moral statement that's uniquely communicating these things. And since I haven't really seen such, that I feel like these expressions aren't necessarily something that represent just entirely a moral realist view, right? Like these are commitments that don't necessarily break the idea of a non-cog's view, especially an emotivist, which is someone that accepts that these moral statements can, in some sense, be helpful, but only in the sense of expressing approve of.
Yeah. I mean, I want to like make 2 points that are both going to be correlated. So like because you said 2 things that I wanted to get a touch on. So like number 1, parsimony. Parsimony. Are you just like really quick? Are you referring to parsimony in terms of like moral facts existing, or are you referring to like the motivational property part we were talking about when it comes to like what's going to be more parsimonious?
So I'm referring to the conclusion of whether. So here, I'll explain. First off, all I mean by parsimony is that there's less factor to get to that conclusion. And the part that I'm more specifically referring to is the idea that we have to essentially accept that these moral statements are the ones like making us feel these motivations, rather than the context behind these moral statements. Like I feel there's more explanatory power that would have to be used for such an extraordinary statement. It would seem that these moral statements have the power to motivate us, rather than the context of these moral statements have something to motivate us. Because it would seem that the context already express and can be explained via the fact that we observe this on a day-to-day basis. I mean, not a lot of people like going to jail. Not a lot of people like facing consequences. And not a lot of people actually, like a lot of people, at least this has statistically been run through, a lot of people would commit crime, different variations of crime, if there were no laws and stuff like that. Compared to the conclusion that like these people just generally are virtuous people, they have this goal in mind. These moral statements entirely want to motivate them. When they hear "we ought not to kill," it's something that genuinely speaks to their heart. I agree this is something that applies to some people, but that's going to depend more on the context and the environmental factor of such people, rather than the actual statement of it in itself.
Yeah. Maybe I'm stupid or something, but just like real quick, are you saying that like when it comes to ontological part, you're just saying that basically, it's gonna like be in reference to the conclusion of moral facts existing? Like I'm not meeting the criteria for the explanatory power part, right?
I would say that those parts do seem to communicate a bit of distinct factors I've brought up, but yeah, they pretty much can work in unison. That's essentially what I'm saying.
Okay, fair. So yeah, I'm gonna get on that point later. But the first point that I wanted to get a touch on, the motivational property part. You do agree, even though because me and you, I'm gonna explain like our distinction, like where we fundamentally disagree. But you do agree in a sense, like these moral statements, they are like there to motivate us to an extent. Like you do believe that, like even if it's our desire, that is like the giver of the motivational property.
I'm sorry,
You
can
do
you repeat
agree.
that?
Yeah, so basically you do to an extent agree. I'm gonna explain where me and you fundamentally disagree, but like you do agree that to an extent that moral statements are actually there to motivate us, and like you think that like even if it's gonna be dependent on our desire, even if the giver of the motivational property is actually gonna be our desire, you still agree, right, that some form of motivational property is going to be given by those moral statements, and that's like going to be like their purpose in a sense, right?
I don't necessarily agree that that's all their purpose is. I know they can be used as such, right? Because when I think of motivation, I think it's just an incentive to do something. And I think some expressions of a moral statement can provide an incentive to do something in some instances, but I don't think this would be something that we intuitively think of when we think of moral statements. Or I don't think this is something that's just a natural factor that's just completely unique of moral statements that would, provide an incentive for us to do something. I think these moral statements also can work to provide, communications of what we express to dislike and approve of, and don't necessarily need to provide a complete backing that would make us want to do something or ought to do something or not do something.
Okay. That's fair, but like I'm not saying that the whole purpose of moral statements is like to give like the
If you're just saying that like it can be used as a purpose, yeah, I have no issue with that.
okay. So if we use them, I cannot really do that. But in a sense, what I was trying to say is, if you agree that in a sense, like how we converged and how we made like laws for the some things, like when it comes to certain things like killing, stealing, and those things. If you do agree that those not laws, but like those statements about from how we converge to the sad thing, given the way the world is, you would agree that we shouldn't like do these things, or like we ought not to do some of those things, right? Like killing, um, stealing, and like
No,
rape or some blah blah blah. No.
no. I think that
Mm.
like they can provide motivation, as I mentioned beforehand, but I don't think they have to, and I don't think they work in such a way. I think there's just so much
Okay.
context upon it, and that it can differ from different instances. People can have different motivations, and some people just generally dislike morality and think
Yeah.
it does.
Fair.
I think there's so many different nuances behind it. It wouldn't be very accurate to just come to that conclusion based off of just that alone, right? I think
Yeah.
there would be way more fulfillment of your conditions beforehand.
Mm-hmm. And just so you know, like um trying to like get you to say like these are gonna be more facts because of the convergence. We're still on the motivational property
No, I
part,
agree.
like before. Yeah, like before we like continue with that. But yeah, basically the point is, if you shared like that view that maybe in a case they can hold like some form of motivational property, like they can motivate you to not do the sad thing, but that's like not necessarily their purpose. Maybe like I'm not getting this right, but wouldn't that just like go against like the view of like an emotivist? No?
In what way?
I mean, if you just say that it's not gonna be their purpose, like one of the purposes that it holds, of course. If it not even one point of like the purpose of like a moral statement is to motivate you, how like what is then emotivism if you don't hold this set property or like this set thing as like a condition for a moral fact? What is gonna be like an emotivist to you?
Well, to answer or to address the initial thing, I never said it can never be one, at least one of the properties. I said like it can. I'm not denying that it can never hold such. I just don't think this is something that naturally comes upon the idea of moral statements.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
an
that's what I said, yeah.
emotivist,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, an emotivist, we're just essentially saying that these moral terms, at least in grammatical assertive utterances, that they function primarily to express emotion, and perhaps to elicit similar emotion to others and invoke these feelings of strong passion in instances to others, right? I think that they can motivate
Mm,
us, but I don't think they have to, because remember, I'm taking the idea of a non-cog, right? Personally, I'm an
uh,
emotivist, but not every non-cog necessarily agrees to such of that. Like
mm,
I know that some non-cogs don't think that they really work to elicit like similar emotions to others. I know some people don't even believe that they primarily express emotion, but that's what I personally think. But no,
okay.
that's not really a commitment that would break a non-cog's view.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you maybe went on mute or something. It probably cut out for me. But what did you say an emotivist was? I'm so sorry. It
An
cut out for me.
emotivist is just someone who thinks moral statements or terms and grammatical or assertive utterances function primarily to express emotion and perhaps also to elicit similar emotion to others. At least that's just the textbook
Okay.
definition that the
Mm-hmm.
encyclopedia uses.
Yeah, fair. But okay, so do you think in a sense like people maybe because like for example if you saw murder happen like right in front of your eyes and you started crying, right? For
Mhm.
example, just do you think like people that are watching you cry and not just people that are watching you cry, sorry, but like do you think people would like have to share that intuition or something? Wait, give me a sec.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You can say now what you wanted. My dad wanted me for a sec.
Oh, I didn't. I don't think you fully finished. I think you're gonna
Yeah.
say why people like react right. It's like in like how people would intuitively believe the motivations behind you crying are towards someone's murder. Is that where you're gonna go? Or
In a sense, sure.
oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's different. There's definitely a lot of different reasons. I think someone would intuitively believe, yeah, they probably would think you're crying because of the murder. Mainly because when people use inferences, we know we're inferring off of different factors that could be happening. I think logically it would make sense to assume someone is crying because of an event that happened. If an event just happened and seemingly nothing else seems to explain their crying, but it's also important to understand that crying in such a way that doesn't necessarily have to be because of the murder or because they thought it was wrong. There's a lot of
Yeah,
emotional
of course.
responses to
Yeah, of course.
violence that happen. Like a lot of people, for example, like when they see even criminals die, or when they see videos of like pedophiles being killed, or people that a lot of people wouldn't intuitively believe deserve to die. They
Yeah,
still
of
get
course.
these emotional responses seemingly because of how intense the reaction is, and not a lot of people can handle that due to their environmental factors and the psychological experiences that they may have had via their upbringing. So I don't think this alone would seem to imply some natural innate property that they feel towards the behavior of killing in this instance. I think that would just more so communicate how they were raised and how they can formulate such strong
Yeah.
emotions compared
Okay.
to whether they actually view it's wrong or not.
Yeah, fair. Um, in a sense, I would maybe respond to it. I mean, yeah, that's fair. But I just like the thing that I was going to. Yeah, I agree. There can be a different reason. People would maybe like through some intuition think that they're crying because of that, and that's all fair. But the thing that I was maybe going with this is, like, would you think that in a sense, as an emotivist, although you're a non-cog, I know you are, but as an emotivist, would you consider maybe like having a stance like that people should share your intuition in a sense for like killing being wrong?
People should share it. I don't think an emotivist would say they should share it. I think that depends on the emotivist view of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have
Yeah.
to understand that even though it could be in a sense some emotivists do aim to elicit similar emotions in others, that's not necessarily every emotivist goal. Some emotivist goal is just to use these moral terms simply to express how they personally feel.
Mm-hmm.
That question definitely would hold a lot of nuance and would depend on exactly who you're talking to. But obviously, you're probably just referring to the grand consensus. To which, in that instance, I'd say maybe they may have a goal of trying to elicit similar emotions in others and gain a consensus. But it would definitely depend on the motivations and desires. And since killing is such a controversial thing in the world, to where people can vary and differ on what they consider killing, what they consider not a killing, how they feel
Yeah.
about killing, whether they feel like killing should be acceptable in certain instances. It wouldn't be entirely accurate for me to answer such a question for the consensus of a motivist, because I don't think there intuitively is a concrete answer on that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Now, the thing that maybe I would have an issue with it is, um, in a sense, like you agree, some emotivists would think this, but that they don't necessarily should, like it's not necessary. And
Mhm.
like in a sense, like how I would maybe respond to it is, if you don't think like in a sense, people should share your like intuition, in a sense, or like you don't think like maybe people or should do this thing, or you're just like say agnostic on it even. I think the way you can go about it is if you don't think people should share like your intuition or something, and like you don't think um people should that it like desire or like that emotion you're expressing should not desire like give the desire to others or like give the motivational property, then what's the point? Like, what would be the point of you expressing the said emotion? Like, where are you trying to go when you do that?
Mm. I think when some people express their emotions or when some people express their perspectives, rather than to have others people agree with their perspective, sometimes it may just be in usage of communication. For example, in relationships, when someone says, "Hey," like, or when two partners they come from two different viewpoints, maybe one person feels that communication just isn't that important. Another person says, "No, we ought to communicate because communication is very good." They may
Mm-hmm.
communicate that no, I think that this is very, very good. I view it in such a way, maybe so they can understand how significant of a disagreement it may be. And so they can maybe form a compromise to where they're not necessarily convincing the person or trying to prove they're right or trying to invalidate the other person's emotions, but more so to give them an idea of how they feel so that it could be easier to come to a compromise and so they're not so misunderstood. Right. I think in such a context, I think that's a context that's actually very, very common in a lot of relationships, not even just between romantic partners, but also just between people of family, people of friends. I don't think communication always has to be used to convince someone of your emotions and convince them to share your identical emotions.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
do think that in a lot of ways people do use it in that sense nonetheless. So
Mm-hmm.
that is also just something that's extremely controversial and just really would depend on someone's perspective. And unfortunately, I don't really think that's something that like a consensus of people like would agree on or disagree on. I think that's just something that's just very mixed between the lines because we as humans are just very confusing when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
communicating our beliefs.
Yeah. Okay. Um, in a sense, sure. Like some people would agree on it, but like the major question is, what would to you, what do you think would be a conclusion to like you expressing your beliefs? What do you think the conclusion should be? Then,
That they understand my beliefs and the reasons for my beliefs.
mm-hmm. But what's the point of that? Right? What would be the point
So
of
that
that?
so that not only can it aid their personal perspective, because when I generally communicate my beliefs, it's because I'm under the impression that they don't fully understand, so that way they're educated on it, so that they can go about in their future and think about it, or more so that they can respond to it and tell me more about their beliefs, so I can see how our
Mm-hmm.
beliefs interact and whether we can form a consensus, so I can leave also feeling more educated on what they believe.
Okay. Well, that's fair, but do you then maybe see how what I'm talking about when I say motivational property? Like like in a sense, you want for them to understand your beliefs. You want for them to understand how you feel about this.
Oh
And the
yeah,
reason for that is like you think that um wait, what did you want to say?
yeah. Oh,
You
it
wanted to
probably
say
wouldn't have
something.
mattered. It probably wouldn't have mattered much what I was going to say because I think you already know this. But no, I don't disagree that all statements lack motivation or that these motivations are to be unfound or that we can't find any motivation from these things. That's a commitment that I'm completely fine with accepting. I just don't think these are things that inherently hold motivations to ought to do a moral statement, or that these motivations just inherently come from these direct moral statements, just of it in itself, without there being more context added upon, which wouldn't be
Hmm.
something just unique of those moral statements.
I mean, if you kind of I think that like that's like also one disagreement. Me and you also like fundamentally disagree on like doesn't necessarily have own property or not. But like if you do agree, right? You do agree, as you said, that you can take like like a motivation from it. Like you're completely fine with accepting that. But there's like a thing. I think that it must be necessary that it gives the motivational property because like as you said, you want kind of to guide people in a sense like if maybe for example they're confused or you just want them to maybe consider your perspective, right? Do you then maybe see how that's just gonna be like you kind of want to motivate them towards maybe this, or you kind of this guidance like gives that motivational property you're looking for? Like,
But
do you
what?
think that?
Mhm. Oh, sorry,
Do you
I didn't mean to cut
think?
you off.
No, no, no. It's completely fine. Say what you wanted to say. You're very nice to talk to, by the way.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, I believe that I don't really see the moral term that would be communicating this motivation in a sense. I feel like my motivation comes more from the want for them to understand rather than a moral statement making me feel, oh, I should ought to do this.
Hmm. I mean, I don't know then how I would try to explain it. Maybe let's try this, right? So if you do agree, as you said, right, that they kind of have some form of like purpose in a sense, like for people to understand them. You kind of think that you want for like most your moral statements that you're expressing, or like the emotion you're expressing, you think that you want for people to understand them, right? That's why you're expressing them. That's why you're expressing the emotional property, right? Well, then if you think this and you think it for a reason, it should guide people, right? If you think that, then I just think that you would kind of have to say that, in a sense, you have when it comes to like the motivational property part, because like, what would be the reason of guiding them if you're not trying to motivate them towards the view? Like that's what I'm trying to find out here.
Hmm. I think my perspective, like, and it's just, I understand that I probably have a perspective that's in my personal view. That's why I was kind of comparing other people's instead of myself, because just the way I was raised and the way I go about it, I know it's not a view that's shared amongst a lot of people. And I don't think a lot of people would intuitively think like this. But for me, when I want to communicate something, or at least when I'm communicating how I personally feel, or how, or if I use a moral term to communicate, my personal emotion or feeling about something. My goal usually is really just to be understood. I'm fine if someone disagrees, but the motivation there would just be to where at least they understand my perspective, so that if they disagree, it's something that we can further on talk about. But the initial,
Yeah.
motivation for explaining my belief is just so that they can gain an understanding, and so that I'm not being misunderstood, and so there's no room for them to misunderstand me.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. So look, I think I responded to some things you said, but I do think you kind of engaged with the problem, which is like a very good thing. But because maybe this is gonna go in for too long, and I sent the argument that I wanted to go about, do you kind of want to conclude on the point, or do you just like want to agree to disagree in a sense, or like do you want to conclude to somebody, like so me and you can maybe even further go on in a sense?
I'd be fun with concluding. Yeah.
Who, do you want to conclude to somebody specifically or no?
That's up to you. If we can't find anyone like within like a current moment and it just becomes way too tedious to try to find someone, I'm fine with just concluding to like rec, and then if you want, we can
Yeah,
get someone later
fair.
to just analyze it.
Yeah, because if you get the point here, if you win this point that you don't necessarily have to hold the motivational property, I would probably concede, because that's like I'm going. Are you familiar with maybe Enoch's argument for indispensable, like intrinsically indispensable project, like the um how do you explain it? Like, are you familiar with David Enoch's argument for normative realism? Like, for every instrumentally indispensable, for every X that is instrumentally indispensable to intrinsically indispensable project, if that's true, then we're justified believing that X exists, right? And are you familiar with that in a sense?
Honestly, I've kind of read up on it, but I'm not as educated on it, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind being reviewed or
Yeah. And well,
refreshed on it.
I kind of made a similar argument. Like, I kind of made something they can cover that up. And basically, my argument kind of revolves towards that, but it includes the motivational property. So, like, if you get the point here, um, I'll probably concede, because I kind of sent you the argument, just so you know. I sent the argument to you in a chat. It is a long ass argument, but basically, just like look at the first one. That's like the main point, and everything else is just like defending the premises. But basically, like if you get the point here, I'll concede. If I get the point, then um we can kind of further go on, because like you don't lose anything if you give in for the motivational property. But if you don't like just say, well, I don't feel like motivational property is gonna be needed here, then I can just concede.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I don't because like even if I were to agree with this, there's a lot of cog or non-cog weight that could still be pulled, but I just have such a weird and what a lot of people would consider like annoying, really weird perspective, just based off like kind of how I live on the day. But enough of my yapping here. Let me look at the argument. Sorry, you
Yeah.
said you sent it in general chat.
Yeah, I tagged you as well, so you can, but you will have
Oh,
to look
gotcha.
up because people were talking so much there.
I looked at
I
it.
can I can
Let me
send
read.
it again if you didn't find it.
That's okay. I found it. Let me here read
Okay.
for a second.
The first one is the main point, as I said.
Okay.
Bruh, this was so interesting, bro. Like, I haven't had like a fucking conversation like this in like a month.
Same
This is
here. Same
insane.
here.
Yeah, that's dope. Okay, so but by the way, you debated Apollo this month, so I can wrap that as me being better than Apollo. Bro.
I think in this you engaged way better than Apollo, even though I was like kind of trolling him because I assumed that we were just doing it for activity. I didn't know he was really serious. I
Yeah.
don't think Apollo deals very well with certain people,
Yeah.
which is why he was quick to mute. But I don't mind. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just so you know, like when it comes to that, I was the moderator there, and I
Mhm.
wasn't really able to moderate. He just said, "I will take your perms if you moderate," even though he agreed to moderation. But that's fine.
No, yeah, I see.
Like,
Honestly, I appreciated like you a lot for that because not a lot of his staff are willing to do that.
yeah, yeah. Just so you know, I got I got my perms taken because I was unmuting you. So yeah, I took like one for the team, or in that sense.
hmm
Yeah,
that's something I really appreciate. You know, that just speaks to your integrity.
yeah. I mean, I didn't really want it to be biased because, like, I know he was going to mute. Like, when he first muted you, when you wanted to get a point out, I know he was going to promote you. But, like, bro, I was laughing so fucking much when I was muted because he told me, like, not to laugh in mic and shit. I was laughing so much when he said main character and shit when you were, like, provoking him for that. Like, shit was funny as fuck, bro.
Yeah. Also, I just feel like I don't know. I thought it would be a lot more lighthearted because like we're both adults, and I thought we both understood. You know, actually and seriously yelling over each other over like a debate in a fictional server. It's just it's very unserious. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't really know why he was so angry at me, but I don't know.
He's just like that, like with everybody. Like he doesn't either particularly like or
I'll
like
just give the
somebody
I'll
that
give the final
he just
verdict.
wants to like
So
perm abuse.
Yeah.
obviously you
So sorry,
responded to
it's
like
taking me so
the
long to
first
read this.
all the
I'm trying to
proposal.
make sure I fully understand this.
Don't
Oh no,
since you
go
can't
ahead. Like the argument is long as fuck. If you need
the
like
argument
one more hour, I will be fine. Like it's very fucking long.
yeah, yeah. Man.
But yeah, this was like a very fucking good conversation. Like I've enjoyed it so much. But yeah, tier 5 free. Let's get it. I can finally step up to fucking tier 4 plates now. So that's dope.
And tier 5 now, you can beat Dastin. He's like the entry boss in like Elden Ring, you know? Wait, no, he's not the entry boss. He's that what the fuck is that? There's a fucking
Yeah, and
horse. I
yeah.
don't know. It's like a dumbass shit that you can kill when you find him. He's
Horse.
like, he's like that fucking random zigzagoon. That's like scaring professor at like bro 5. Emerald. Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
yo, like
Okay.
for this convo, like it was the point to the when I like want to concentrate, I play like a video game. So like I play Rocket League or some shit. I turn down the volume and I debate. And like whenever I want to get concentrated, I do that. This is the most I've played Rocket League in so fucking long. Like it's insane. But yeah, did you Yeah, I heard you said something, but I was speaking. I'm sorry. What did you say? Oh no, lagging out. Fuck.
Sorry, my internet.
Uh,
Uh,
oh.
oh yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
dope.
say
It
so.
was you. I
I
thought
kind
it
of.
was me.
Oh no no. So I read premise two or premise one. This seems to check out if that's the case. If those conditions are fulfilled.
Mm, um, if those, yeah, if
Okay,
those like,
my internet's trolling me.
if P is fulfilled, yeah. If P is fulfilled, then Q, yeah. Any sense?
Sorry, my internet's trolling me. What did you say? Something in response?
Yeah, my internet is bad too, so sometimes it's gonna be me, sometimes it's gonna be you, but like, yeah, basically, the point is, yeah, like if a condition P is fulfilled, then, Q is gonna be fulfilled. Of course, you can negate the hypothetical, like, that doesn't have to lead to shit. You can negate, which I think is something that you would disagree with mostly, because you wouldn't generally
Yeah.
disagree that there's like for a normal fact like moon exists. I don't think you will disagree that some form of stance independent reason will give you some motivation to believe this, and like the strongest motivation is gonna be that stance independent reason. Like if you with your eyes or like some form of deliberation to the point of like moon existing, right? You would get the motivational property in a sense that moon does exist. And if this is 100% true, that will even give you more like motivation to believe this. And like in that sense, I don't think you would disagree with that, but I think that you should like disagree with P1 in a sense because that's the one that is going to be hard to justify actually.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm having trouble seeing here is how we fit this set of or moral propositions within here, like how we fit X to encompass this set. That's
Hmm.
the only thing to where I don't feel like there's enough conditions being fulfilled here.
How can wait, you said how can X like encompass this?
Or well, I don't disagree that it's like most definitely possible. I can see how it would or how someone would potentially argue for it, but I don't see that being necessarily like justified within the syllogism.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, in a sense, to how I would explain like X encompassing that is, in a sense that I go about it is that's why I wanted to get the motivational property thing that me and you had out because like if I say something like because if you're familiar with David Hume's problem, David Hume proposes like a problem that we are slaves to emotion and like how no matter how good the explanation is, if I don't have a desire to do this, I will not do it, right? And that's the problem that I'm trying to negate, right? Because I think that I'm not saying what is the case, I'm saying what should be the case. Like, I think what should motivate you to do something is going to be something that is right to do, in a sense of like what's going to be like giving the best reason to do so. So, like, for example, if there's a best explanation, right? Like the view that will hold the best explanation, for example, is that abortion is good or not good. Sorry, that abortion is amoral, like it's neutral in a sense. If that's the best explanation, if that's like the view that encompasses the best explanation, then I think that that's something that we should follow. But if it's like wrong, if the view that encompasses the best explanation is gonna be like a view like abortion is wrong, if that's something that encompasses the best explanation, then we ought to follow that, right? Because in a sense, how I would maybe explain it is if we do things that are based on desire more than they're based on like some form of justification, that can in some sad instances lead to some form of social nihilism. In a way, like how I go about it is, if you say something like, for example, um, I shouldn't do drugs because it goes, for example, if you're a utilitarianist, for example, you would say, I shouldn't do drugs because it will hurt my well-being or like it will give the negative utility. And you just say, well, I want to do drugs. That's my desire. I don't care about my well-being. I want to do drugs. if we went on like how that will be like a better motivation to do something than like the explanation that is given, then you see like how people will commit actions that can lead to like some form of social failure or like some form of cultural and social nihilism that I'm trying to get at. And that's like the thing that I'm trying to get with this. If you do believe the better the explanation, the bigger the motivational property, then then you would agree that the best explanation will give the best motivational property, or like the biggest motivational property. So that's the way I would go about it. If I sorry I talked too long. If you wanted to jump in for something, you can definitely go now.
I was actually gonna say, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't fully understand the initial part of what you said, but do you mind if we continue this later? Because I will
Of
admit,
course,
I am pretty
of course.
mentally burnt out of this convo, and I kind of
Me
wanted to
too.
ask someone. But
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much, bro.
no,
Bro,
you're
my
good.
eyes are
Uh,
burning. Like my eyes are burning. My brain is hurting right now. It wants to go to sleep, bro. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, because like the minute I start, kind of like my brain starts dozing, and I'm like, it's hard for me to track. It's just gonna become like a liability for me to
yeah,
talk, because
for
I'm
real,
gonna
for
constantly
real.
be asking to repeat. It's just not gonna be very good.
Yeah.
But when
So
I'd like to continue this later when we're both like more energized and stuff like that.
yeah,
This is an amazing
like
conversation.
yeah, it was genuinely very good. Like you're the best non-cog I ever ran into. Like this was genuinely like one of the best conversations. Like if you need me for anything, you can definitely call me. If you like want like a moderator or like to debate again, just
Of
call me. I
course.
will be there.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You're extremely respectable, and I'd love to debate again.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go though. I'll
Of
see
course.
like if people are going to finally put me at tier 5 or tier 4 now. So like yeah, I will see you
Of
and I
course.
have to go to eat.
Have an
Good.
amazing day or night. Stay safe.
Yeah. Let me send you a friend request though. So
100%, man.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I will see you.
Yep. See ya.
しさえ時間ギリギリだね。これがラストプレーか。激アツ覚醒
マジか。
くれラストワンプレー戻れ特化走れ死んでも守りきれ。俺が奪えばビッグチャンス。まだだ俺ら。いいよ俺がいる。チェックブラアホども。俺が時間稼ぎ人数足りてへんねや。フリーのやつ手足ろ。ここで点取られたら終わりや。しのぐぞボケー。はじゃ殺す潰す壊す。さっきのを決めきれなかったのがお前の限界だ。うっせえよクソヘドマウント鬼が。何様だてめえ。おとなしくうちで引きこもってりゃ身の程を知らずに死ねたのにな。こんなところにシャシャリ出てきた。自業自得だ。しゃべんな。その手には乗んねえぞゴミ兄貴。もう分かったろリン。お前は世界一にはなれない。やめろもう。お前は俺を理由にしなきゃサッカーもできない。俺の影として生きるカス弟だ。ぬりーんだよ。もう二度と俺を理由にサッカーなんかすんじゃねえよ。あの時こいつに言われた言葉の意味が今やっと腑に落ちた気がする。ぬるいの気持ち悪いのぶっ壊さなきゃいけないの俺自身だ。天才の弟、相棒、ライバル。そんなお前らに都合のいい価値観で俺の人生を犯すな。俺はお前らの人生の何かじゃない。愛しさえの弟はもう嫌だ。この憤りを信じろ。破壊衝動に身を委ねろ。俺は俺だ。俺はエゴイスト愛しリンだ。
すごいぞリン。俺とサッカーしろ。
なんだお前まだその顔できんじゃねえか。
アディショナルタイムは1分。ボールは愛しさえ時間ギリギリだね。これがラストプレーか。激アツ覚醒
マジか。
くれラストワンプレー戻れ特化走れ死んでも守りきれ。俺が奪えばビッグチャンス。 まだだおら。いいよ、俺がいる。チェッカブラーアホども、俺が時間稼ぎ、人数足りてへんねや。フリーのやつ手足ろ。ここで手取られたら終わりや。しのぐぞボケー。はじゃ殺す、潰す、壊す。
さっきのを決めきれなかったのがお前の限界だ。うっせえ、クソヘドマウントニーが。何様だてめえ。おとなしくうちで引きこもってりゃ身の程を知らずに死ねたのにな。こんなところにシャシャリ出てきた。自業自得だ。
しゃべんな。その手には乗んねえぞゴミ兄貴。
もう分かったろリン。お前は世界一にはなれない。
やめろも
う。お前は俺を理由にしなきゃサッカーもできない。俺の影として生きるカス弟だ。塗りんだよ。もう二度と俺を理由にサッカーなんかすんじゃねえよ。あの時こいつに言われた言葉の意味が今やっと腑に落ちた気がする。ぬるいの、気持ち悪いの、ぶっ壊さなきゃいけないの、俺自身だ。天才の弟、相棒、ライバル。そんなお前らに都合のいい価値観で俺の人生を犯すな。俺はお前らの人生の何かじゃない。愛しさえの弟はもう嫌だ。この憤りを信じろ。破壊衝動に身を委ねろ。俺は俺だ。俺はエゴイスト、愛しリンだ。
すごいぞリン。俺とサッカーしろ。
なんだお前、まだその顔できんじゃねえか。